And the Tuesday interview today is with my friend Roger Finch. Now, Roger Finch is, in my opinion, an unsung hero. I've started distance swimming, but very recently, and came across him on Facebook and then read a bit about him, because lots of people approach you on Facebook and then you have to work out if they are who they say they are. And he is the only South African to have ever swum the Triple Crown. So, of course, I furiously Googled that. And that's the English Channel and the Catalina Channel and the Manhattan Island Marathon Swim. And just so you know, I think, Roger, that's a combined distance of over 120 Ks, roughly.
Wow.
Close on 100.
Yeah, I did 52 in the English Channel with the tides, 50 in Manhattan, and 35 at Catalina.
So even more.
Yeah, somewhere around there, yeah.
Where does the love of open water swimming come from?
I think it's just because you know, appreciate the beauty out there in life. You know, to get out there and just see the nature, really. You know, and you come across so many different animals on different swims, but you know, really it's the beauty out there, as opposed to a dam or something like that. I started in the dams. Just, you know, as rehabilitation after a broken pelvis.
Well, let's go back to that, because let's go back even further. You swam as a child.
Yes, from about 4 years old to 17. And
that was up in Zim.
Yeah, all the way.
And then you came down here, and swimming went the way of the wind, or?
Once I left school, I never wanted to see a pool in my life again. Never, ever wanted to see a pool in my life. And I was into motorcycle racing. So I went world superbike racing. When that came to an end, I then went into show jumping. Bought a place in Kalami with the horses and stuff. And then had an accident, broke my pelvis very badly.
And you're in bed for a long time.
Yeah, months. Staring at one piece of ceiling. And eventually when I got out, and it took me a couple of months before I could move around, I went to the, they sent me to the gym, to the pool. And I didn't like that for rehab. But one day it just clicked. And I sort of like enjoyed it. My sister said, no, you must try and swim the mile. And I said, wow, I couldn't even walk it, let alone, because I was still walking like a bolted together robot. Yeah. And I put an online entry, and then I thought, well, if I make it, I make it. If I don't, you know, at least I had an entry, but it gives me something to work to.
So you worked towards swimming 1 mile, which is 1.6 kilometers.
Yes.
And that was when?
Wow, 05, I think it was.
It's not too long ago, 8 years ago.
Yeah, about 05, yeah.
And then you did the mid-mile.
Yes.
Because I'm trying to take the pattern from 1.6 kilometers to 52 around Manhattan. Because something changed in your head. Was it during the mid-mile where you thought, I could go further, I could do more? Was it a longer process?
No, it was a longer process. I swam a couple of mid-miles, and then I was determined to, well, I thought, well, that was easy. So I thought, well, you know, I should try training a bit better. And so I trained a bit more, and I moved up to around about 24th place. And I thought, no, if I triple my training, I could even come in the top 10 maybe. So I did, and I kept on coming in 13th. And then one day, in my age group, I managed to come third, about a year later. And I thought, okay, that's enough of that now. And I started to gaze out at Robben Island. And I heard about the Robben Island swim, and I met a few. I wanted to see if I could swim in the cold water.
Well, the cold water is really what's interesting, because it's one thing to think, well, can I swim that distance? But it's another thing to think, can I swim that distance when it's very cold and I have no control whatsoever on the conditions? Because when you get in a pool, you can swim a very, very long time and a very, very long way. But it's another thing to actually get into the sea. And even from a dam, I would imagine, to go from that nice warm water where there's a few currents, and yes, you can't see the bottom, to go to the sea, which is this great unknown.
Yeah. But I didn't put any pressure. I just decided, you know, I said to my wife, Lindsay, I said, you know, if cold water is not for me, it's not for me. It's not for everyone. And that's how I approached it, you know, with no pressure.
Explain cold water for anyone who's never been for a cold water swim. First time.
Yeah, first time. Your body, it feels like your body's on fire. You're burning. You are burning all over. You have a headache of note.
It's the worst ice cream headache you ever had in your life.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, you're on fire. And eventually, when your body understands that it should remove the blood from your extremities and put it around your vital organs to try and preserve you, you lose feeling. Once you lost feeling, then you start to calm down a bit, and then you think, oh, well, this is not so bad. I can keep going now. But a lot of people, I think, would stop before that happens. So they're within 15 minutes. When you're a beginner, it takes about 15 minutes.
And then you get into your stride.
Yeah. So a lot of them would get out after maybe 5 to 10 minutes, which is, just unfortunate.
So now you're in the sea, and this was going to be your first sea swim, I'm assuming, Robben Island.
Yes.
Proper, full-on.
Yes.
Big, long swim.
Yeah.
And the other thing with the sea is that there's a lot of animals in it. And the first thing anyone said to me when I said I was training with you to go Robben Island to Bloberg was, you're going to get eaten by a shark. That's the first thing everybody says.
Yeah.
So what goes through your mind when you're in the sea and you don't know what's underneath you?
I'm more looking at the scenery. I'm looking at the waves. I'm looking at my pilot boat. I'm looking at Table Mountain or the 12 Apostles, depending on which way I'm swimming. So I don't really, I know I've got my friends and support around me. Sometimes when I'm out on my own, a bit too far out, I do have a look around. Think I better get back more towards the boat.
But you're never scared?
No. Sometimes you get a little fright, because you'll come across a seal and he'll be lying on his back, flapping his fins in the air. And, you see one fin out in the air.
And then you're thinking about something else.
Well, what was that? And then you look again and it's gone. And then you think, And then they might shout at you, seals or something like that.
Then you can calm down.
Yeah. Your support team's got a bit of an understanding that, when they see your face, or they see something out there, they'll just warn you so you don't get a fright.
So I want to go back to your support team, but I want to take us to the first big swim, which was the Channel. So you did Robben Island.
Yes.
And when you got out the other side, was that your next goal, or was there something before that?
No, it was my all and my everything. My be-all, end-all was to swim from Robben Island to Bloberg. I got to the beach and I didn't stop swimming. My hands were digging in the sand. I didn't want it to finish. I absolutely loved it. And then at the Long Distance Awards, the Cape Town guys said that they would be going to Australia for a big swim and I should come with. And I said, well, how far? They said, it's a 20-kilometer across to Rottnest Island. And I went, oh, wow.
It's quite a jump.
Yeah, it's nearly triple it. It took me about 3 weeks, and eventually it was irritating me, so I pressed the button to book the flights. And once that was done, I had to just get on with it.
When you make a decision like that, it's a huge decision. I mean, you're minimizing it, and maybe that is how you ran it in your head. But to go from 7 kilometers to 20 kilometers in open water, you can't take that lightly.
No, not at all. I didn't sleep properly for the next 2 nights. Yeah, I didn't. I didn't, but my support team again from Robben Island, they got stuck in and devised training for me, up my training, picked the distances way up, and got really, really strong. And the swim went terribly.
Why?
I'd never experienced feeding out in the ocean, so I just thought, well, take these guys have got some protein or mix, and you just mix it together and drink a bottle, and more is better because you got more in you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's quite the opposite, and so I started throwing up badly, violently from the first hour and a quarter into the swim. And it was extremely rough. So on every half hour I was thrown up violently.
And that's an hour and a half into 20 Ks.
Yeah.
So what stops you from turning around? Or from getting into the boat?
All my friends, all my friends laughing at me. Yeah, they couldn't stop laughing. They would burst out laughing. Wow, did you see that? And then I just packed out laughing as well. And I just said to them, did you get photos?
You swim through it.
Yeah. You just laugh. And it was such an experience. It was just something, thrown up all over the show was just part of the thing. I thought, that I certainly had to do my homework with regards to feeding straight after that, because it was a very short hop, skip and jump to the English Channel.
Well, this is kind of where, Robben Island is still 7 kilometers. It's a serious distance, but this is kind of where you make the transition from someone who's doing something to see if they can to a serious open water swimmer. It has to become something that you're a lot more serious about. So as you said with the feeding, up till then you thought, well, I can just get away with doing this. And now you had to be more scientific about it.
Yeah, definitely. It taught me a hang of a lot. It taught me, there's a lot more to your body than just, drinking a mix or something like that. You swallow a lot of seawater along the way. But yeah, I did a lot, and that's where Lindsay, my wife, stepped in. And she said, well, if you're going to do the English Channel, we are going to go to Dover, and we're going to train in Dover the year before your swim, the exact week of your swim. And you will do your 6-hour qualifying there. You'll swim with other channel swimmers at the same time, the ones that are about to do their channel crossings or attempts. And you'll see where your swimming actually is. And, you've got a year to adjust and sort everything out. And I said, no. No. I thought if I see the channel, I'm going to run away. It'll be too much for me. But she insisted, and anyway, we went, and it's the best thing I could have ever listened to. Her advice, yeah.
Why?
I got prepared. I met a lot of people there, a lot of swimmers, ones that had already swum the English Channel, ones that were waiting to swim the channel. And of the ones that had swum the English Channel, I saw a lot of ladies with a lot less swimming ability than myself. Mm-hmm. And I'd sit and think, oh wow, they swam the channel. And I knew there's one thing that you never ever do, is say, well, just because that person did it, you can do it. Something like that brings out hidden qualities that you never knew a person had. So you could never say that. But I thought about those ladies, and I thought, well, how? And I realized that they've got such a good mind. And as long as they don't give up, you'll get there.
Now, the channel's not a short swim.
No.
And you said yours was quite a long one because of tides and wind and...
Yeah, distance-wise it was long, time-wise it was short.
Well, I was going to say that because it sounds very long to anyone who's not a swimmer. 12 and a half hours in the water doing anything sounds really, really long. And you start that swim in the dark.
Yeah.
So what goes through your mind when it's dark and you know that water is as cold as it would be for us to get up and put on 2 jerseys and jeans and still be shivering outside, to be 15, 16 degrees?
Yeah, the tension on the boat before I got in was hectic. I didn't know what I was going to feel when I hit the water. Fortunately, I felt it. I thought it was really warm because I'd done so much training in Cape Town in really low temperatures. So I did think it was warm, but it was very rough. So my first 3 hours, it was like scrambling over rocks. It wasn't actually swimming. It was just scrambling along. And I think I put 3 strokes together in 2 3/4 hours. But it didn't bother me. My first hour was very unsettled until I got my first feed. Once I had my first feed, it just settled me, and I just thought, well, now we're really on our way. Honestly, we're really going now. And I just settled right down.
There must be times, though, in 12 and a half hours, even with the sun on you, even with all that support coming from the boat, there must be times where you think, wow, my arm is sore, and is it going to make another however many kilometers, or how close are we? Or you look back and you don't see land, or it's so far away and there's still nothing to see in front of you. What does your mind do in those situations?
No, I never ever bothered. I just had fun. I'd look at the jellyfish going by and laugh at them because it was so ugly there, thinking, wow, you're so ugly compared to the Cape Town jellyfish.
Never make it off the coast of Clifton.
Yeah, yeah, you'd never. and then just like tempting fate, very shortly after, one came and stung me on the leg, and just after that another one got me, but a full-blown one in the left shoulder. And then I just thought, well, okay, let's see how strong you really are. And realized that this thing wasn't as bad as the Cape ones. So, yeah, that just keeps my mind amused. I wait, just checking the time, how long it's going to take for that sting to disappear. Feeds, I was quite naughty. I kept on throwing leftover banana at my support crew to see who I could hit after my feed as I was swimming. Or my feed bottle or something like that.
So they knew you were still there.
Yeah, I was just having fun and entertaining myself non-stop, thinking about everyone, and then you start getting messages. That changes your mind, and you think, wow, that person in Cape Town's watching me live now. And then someone in Australia and someone in America, and you can't believe it, and you start thinking about those people. Last time you were together, or like while I was swimming in the dark, I realized that my friends in Cape Town were at Newlands Pool training. And I was thinking, well, there's an empty lane there. And they all, they thinking about me and sending me messages. So, yeah, it's quite a bit to think about. Yeah, it's, and just enjoy it.
Okay, well, you're making it sound very easy. But after we come back from the break, I want to talk to you about the hardships of it. I mean, one young lady lost her life this week swimming the English Channel. So it is not an easy swim by any means. And a lot more goes into it than I think a lot of people realize. Roger, why do they call it the Triple Crown of swimming?
Well, the Americans actually brought it up and rated the what they view as three of the toughest or largest swims in the world. Very difficult ones, mentally challenging as well as physically.
Okay, so that's the Channel and Manhattan Island, which we'll get onto, and Catalina.
Yeah.
So when you did the Channel, and now you're feeding every half an hour, and I think the shortest distance between Dover and Calais is supposed to be 32 k's. If you managed if it was completely clear and glass and...
Yeah.
But no one ever does it in that.
Miles. No, 33 k's, yeah. No. The tides don't come in and out in Dover. They sweep up the channel and down the channel. So when you start, you get swept up towards Belgium, and then the tide will turn and it sweeps you back down again. And then it turns again if you've been swimming for a long time, and obviously conditions, depending on conditions, how far you've got across the channel. And
people forget, and I hadn't thought about it at all till I met you, it's a shipping channel. Yes. So there's boats as well.
Big ones.
Yes.
Yeah, big ones. 600 a day. Around about 600 a day, yeah.
And they don't get out of your way, so I guess you get out of theirs.
Yeah, you try. You try.
How does it work then? Because you have a boat, obviously, that follows your support boat, and do they just keep an eye out? Because you just must be swimming.
Yeah, sure. You swimming. You've got shipping lanes. You've got roughly 8 kilometers of English inland coastal waters. Then you go to the westbound shipping lane, which is around about 8 kilometers wide. Then there's a separation in between the two shipping lanes of about 1.5 kilometers, and then you've got the northeastbound shipping lane. Then you've got French waters around about 8 kilometers. And
what's the hardest stretch? Because for me, I would reckon halfway across, when you're thinking, I'm only halfway. I've done 6 hours, and there's at least another 6-7 hours to go.
No. The hardest part is the currents of France. They're very, very tough, vicious currents of France. So in the old days, they all attempted France to England. So they could, number one, stand on Cape Grenade, which is the shortest distance to England. Now, the English coast is fairly flat compared to the French, so they will swim shorter distance, and they can try and get through those currents before they tire.
The Channel obviously is a huge swimming feat, and a lot of celebrities do it in the UK as well. They relay it, so I think it's probably got the most, among the general public, it's probably got the most recall, but it's not been your hardest swim.
No.
What would you say your biggest swim has been to date? The most mentally and physically challenging?
I think Manhattan. Because mentally Manhattan it's a race. It's not a channel crossing. So it's a race. And the selection process for that event is a recent minimum qualification is a recent English Channel crossing.
Okay.
A fairly decent one.
That's minimum requirement.
Yeah. That's before you even start to put your forms together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whoever's in that, they take 38 swimmers, and whoever's in that event are very experienced international swimmers. Well, it's a part ocean right down by the harbour at the end of Manhattan, where you turn from the Hudson around and head up the east.
So where'd you get in, and where does the route take you?
You get in South Cove, opposite Statue of Liberty. So it's quite exciting. You fight the current down around the wall, past the Staten Island ferry terminal, and into the East River. And they've timed it, the start of the swim, that the tides should be changing and sweeping up the east to help you. And then you got some really, really brilliant sights. The first bridge is the Brooklyn Bridge. Then the Manhattan Bridge, then the Empire State Building. And
just swimming underneath these bridges, which most people don't ever get to do.
No, you'll never get to see New York like that unless you take the Circle Ferry. It's fantastic. It really, really is. And yeah, you see the Empire State Building and the United Nations, then the Chrysler Building. And then you hit an area called Hell's Gate, which is just what it is. And
why?
It's where the Harlem meets the east and flows out to Long Island Sound. Now the tide's coming in and going up against the Harlem, and if you're too far right, slightly too far right, you get washed out to sea. If you're slightly too far left, you get caught in eddy currents. Plus you're fighting a current to try and get into the Harlem. It's hard. It's really hard. And then once you're in the Harlem, it goes very quiet. You swim against the current for a very long time. Not too much to see, just the Yankee Stadium.
Just the Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, the Yankee Stadium, which is not so great. And once you've seen the other stuff, quite a few bridges and all that. Then you come around the top into to the Hudson, where the Harlem meets the Hudson, and it's called a place called Speyton Duval. Very, very rough waves, bouncing every single way except the right way. They don't know which way they're going. They're going all over the show. So it's quite hard to get into the Hudson. And once you're in the Hudson, you really move down the Hudson. I moved out into the middle of the Hudson to try and get current, which just adds an extra kilometre onto your swim, and another kilometre onto your swim to get back to the side at the finish at South Cove.
And you pass the Intrepid.
The USS Intrepid, it's great, with the Concorde on the deck and the space shuttle. Yeah, it's really exciting, but you don't see that for a long time. Once you get in the Hudson, you're so far up the Hudson, Manhattan's sort of like on the horizon, down there somewhere. George Washington Bridge is massive. It's really big. The Intrepid is special because you're getting fairly close to the end.
And then you've done it.
Yeah, they told me. I said, through those buoys? I said, I couldn't swim through those buoys against the wall. They said, yeah, turn. I said, what do you mean turn? They said, it's the end. I said, no.
And I'm talking to Roger Finch, who is the only South African to have ever swum the Triple Crown. I think there's 67 people in the world, 70 people in the world who've done it now, roughly. Keeps changing, but not fast.
No, it's 69 now.
So,
yeah.
In the world.
Yeah.
It's a massive achievement. So if you've got any questions for Roger, he's an open water swimmer of note. You can give us a call, 8830-702, or SMS me on 31702, as Nicole did from Randburg. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Sam. Hi, Roger.
Hi, how are you, Nicole?
Roger, it's Nikki Raymond Paul here.
Hi, Nikki. Good to hear you.
You two, we used to swim together, and I sent in an SMS saying that your speedos are epic. Because you've got a speedo that's just about as old as some of the listeners probably on this line. Ooh. Or on this program.
Vintage swimwear, hey, Nikki.
Vintage swimwear. And I think speedo probably follows Roger around the world wherever he goes, because his speedo, I think, goes with him wherever. Isn't it right, Roger?
That's correct, yeah.
He's blushing.
In fact, that speedo was given to me by the late Arthur George in Highlands Pool.
Yes.
And it's the same age as Sam.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That is a very old speedo.
It's an old speedo. And listen, Sam, I take my hat off to you. Honestly, I think what you've done is amazing. But I think, Roger, either you've got a screw loose or you are just amazing. Amazing, amazing. I could never do what you've done. And I think you're awesome. So well done.
Doesn't it drive you mad how light he makes of it?
I know. And you know what? I follow him wherever he goes. And it's like, I think he does it because he can have a beer at the end of it, to be honest with you, Sam. It's more about the beer than the swim.
I believe, Roger, you were saying at the end of the channel you had a beer on the boat and you were the only person that pilot had ever seen do that.
Yeah. I got this crazy friend that's in the sport team. Sorry, just to go back one little thing there. I have to admit and acknowledge that none of this would be possible whatsoever without my team.
Yeah.
My team,
yeah.
You know, and it is carefully researched, and
sure.
and I live, dream it, and I know every inch of the way before I even get there, and what's going to happen. Well, imagine what could possibly happen.
Sure.
They are unbelievable.
And you always give them credit, Roger. Wherever you go, you always give your team credit. Always.
Well, without them, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
and Liz couldn't make Catalina on the original date that I had, so I refused to. You know, I didn't swim. I managed to shift the swim so she could be there, and that's how strongly I feel that not even one member of the team must be missing.
Well, I think you're an absolute star, and Sam, you too. Well done.
So, I might be a star, but he's a superstar, hey? That's what you
100.
said.
100. No, but
thank you,
the first one is the hardest, I think.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call, Nicole.
Well done. Okay, bye.
Roger talked to me about the support team, because when you see, specifically swimming or, you know, those, it's not a lonely sport, but it's a lone sport. It's one swimmer. But you talk about your support team that comes with you all over the world. Who is it and what do they do?
The support team comprises Mike Nell, who helps me with my training and coaching, Nicole Pierre, who also a Bulawayo girl living in Cape Town, relocated to Sydney now, so she flies out of Sydney. She's the youngest of the team by far, but she's the boss and organizes everyone. And Liz Webb, who will get in once in a while as rules permit to swim with me. And then the crazy man, Airbus, he's a pilot, and he's crazy. You know, sometimes he arrives, sometimes he doesn't, but you know, he's part of it. And then obviously Lindsay, my wife, is the catalyst, you know, between us all.
And you've been very fortunate because she supports you utterly. I mean,
yes,
this is why these swims actually happen.
Yes, yeah, she does, and she puts a lot of level thought into it, where I get a bit confused and emotional, carried away, where there was a bit of a mix-up late last year with my bookings of my swims for this year. Japan happened to come into the mix, and I was, you know, quite down about it, and I didn't know which way to turn, and you know, and she went away, and a day later she came back to me and she said, "Listen, this is exactly what's going to happen." And and it just sorted everything out.
And it's quite hard for her, because to send the person you love off to 12 and a half, 13, 14, 15 hours in open water where there's no bottom. You can't put your foot down when you're a bit tired, or lean the bike against a tree, or go over to the side of the road and take your running shoes off. It's a big deal.
Yeah, you're not allowed to touch a thing. You can't touch anything. Whatever you eat or drink or anything's thrown to you. Sure. Yeah, it's always mixed with salt water. Whatever you have.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite emotional. You know, it is quite emotional and that, but she believes in me. And she obviously knows firsthand what kind of work I do put in. So, you know, and what kind of mindset, you know, I have.
Gary's on the line from Joburg. He's got a question I think everyone wants to know. Hi, Gary.
Yeah, hi, Jen. Hi, Roger.
Hi.
I'm interested to know, obviously, a lot of dedication in order to do these type of events, but I'm interested to know what type of build-up you have, whether you do gym work, whether you spend, you obviously spend a lot of time in the pool or open water, but I'm just going to put the phone down and listen to your response, really, on the training regime that you have for your building up to these large events.
Thanks for the call, Gary.
Thank you.
It's an interesting one because it's one thing to train to go very, very fast for 25 meters or 50 meters. But when you're training to go for a very long period of time across a long distance, how do you train for that? How do you train to swim 30 kilometers?
You build up gently. Otherwise, you will hurt yourself, your muscles, somewhere. Generally your shoulders. You build up gently. You train. Well, I found you've got to train on your own because you're going to be on your own, and mentally it's tough. You must be able to take yourself down to the pool or down to the ocean on your own in not so nice weather and conditions and get in. So I swim 6 days a week, sometimes 7, but the 7th will be recreational with the Masters or something like that. I work very hard in the pool through the week. And I fit in as many Cape Town swims as possible, weather permitting. Well, even then I'd go there and always see how far I can get, but somehow I always get there.
For the cold water?
Yes, cold water. You got to swallow it. You got to drink it. You got to swim in it. It is totally different to fresh water. It's you know, I rub myself. I start bleeding badly from my shoulder because of the abrasion. Your stomach, you know, once you've had a couple of glasses of seawater, you know, and then you've got to feed in it. You know, you've got to pour warm mix into your stomach, which has got icy cold water in there, and that when that mixes as well, you don't feel that great. Your tongue swells. You just got to do a lot of long ocean swims. Double Robben Island crossings, 5-6 hour out there type of stuff. You know?
Hundreds and hundreds of kilometers, thousands you've swum in the past 10 years?
Oh yeah. I think just in the pool, the training pool, my heart rate monitors, the Wahoo pool is on around about just under 5,000 kilometers now in a couple of years. Yeah.
And no chance of stopping anytime soon?
No.
Still got more to do.
No, it's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
Now, a lot of people, and myself included, when you first said, do you want to swim Robben Island to Blowback? That's fantastic. It's 7Ks. How hard can 7Ks be? And it never occurred to me there's different types of sea, there's tides, there's animals. So it's all been a massive learning process. So for people who don't know, how does the sea differ from swim to swim?
Yeah, all the oceans are very different. The ocean's alive. It lives. It's obviously another world, and the Indian Ocean is warm, calm, fairly forgiving. Atlantic, cold, icy, tempestuous, sometimes kind. Pacific, a lot kinder, until you move more north. The amount of salt varies, you know, from time to time, you know, different oceans. Some are nice and blue, some are just grey, like the English Channel is grey. Obviously, because of the sky, there's no, you know, the clouds and stuff like that. They're all fairly different.
Favorite place to swim so far? So far, not a lifelong commitment.
Cape Town.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
It's special. You know, you in blue water, you look at those beaches, you look up at the 12 apostles in the blue sky, Lion's Head, Table Mountain, and yeah, it's special.
Coldest sea you've ever swum in?
Cape Town.
Really?
Yeah. 9 degrees, 9 degrees. My last crossing started off at 10.0 and then it dipped up and down around 8, 9 and then warmed up for us to 11 right at the very end. Yeah.
How does your body adapt to that? Because there must come a point where the cold does set in. It can't not. And your mind has to carry you through that.
Yeah, you've got to set your mind. Your mind controls your body. When you're a beginner, your mind doesn't know too much and what's happening. So you always do get a shock. You always do struggle a bit and stuff. But the more you do it, the more you become accustomed to it. The more the body adapts. The more it heeds. It sort of like understands what's happening to it. Just like training, you start training, your body understands, and you get better oxygen flow. Your muscles transform, and your tendons and stuff. So you do get stronger. The same will happen with the cold. Everybody is actually different. And I find myself, I go into a bit of a zone. Say we're going to swim Robben Island, about halfway out, I go very quiet. I look at the ocean. I pick up what kind of sting is coming off that ocean. If it's chilly, just the smell of the ocean, you can tell how cold it is. And my body starts to heat up. And I just go into a bit of another world. So, I don't struggle too much at all.
Now, you were once in so much of another world that a shark followed you.
Yeah, my swim friend Albert. There's a company called O-Search that has tagged quite a few great whites around the world. And you can go to their website and have a look whereabouts they're swimming, providing they're fairly close to the surface.
And there's photographic evidence. You can look at mugshots of them as well.
Yes. Albert's a male 550-pound youngster. I think he's about 3.4 meters long. And but he's not fat, no.
And tell us about Albert.
I went before Catalina. I went to get some cold water swimming. Cape Town was too bad, so I ended up in Port Elizabeth, around about 4 kilometers off the coast. There's a massive buoy called Bellbuoy that protects a reef or tries to protect the ships from a reef out there. So I said to my kayaker Ian, I said, okay, the conditions look good enough. We can go and do a Bellbuoy. So he said, yeah, sure. And the conditions were great. When we got to Hobie Beach, off we went, and then as you just get out the bay, then we picked up a lot of swell, and the wind was blowing out there, and we got out to Bellbuoy very quickly. He laughed at me and said, wow, look what you've got to swim through to try and get back. And I said, sure. I said, yeah, but not to worry, that's why I'm here, training. And I said to him, take some photos, we got to. So he said, no, I'll try, but I can't stand the kayak, too well. And he's very experienced, so the swells were big. We set off back from Bellbuoy, and we sort of like got separated within a few minutes, and I couldn't find him, he couldn't find me anywhere, and we were totally lost. I just couldn't find him out there, So then I was getting blown back out to sea. So I thought, no, well, I've got to keep swimming, otherwise I'm going to be in Madagascar or somewhere soon. Yeah, it was hectic. So anyway, so I got swimming, and then I stopped around about 3 kilometers off the coast. I started hunting for him again, looking around. I still couldn't find him. And I saw a Chinese fishing trawler heading for me. And I thought, oh, that's all I need now. I'm going to get run over. But it had seen me out in the ocean. I didn't realize, but obviously they had seen this person out 3 kilometers off the coast.
They came to rescue you.
Yeah, they decided I'd been washed out to sea. so they came there and they started shouting at me, and in the politest way I could, I asked if they'd seen a kayak out there, which they didn't have a clue what I was talking about. But they threw a rope ladder down for me to get back on. And I looked and I thought, maybe I better. And then I looked at the coast and I thought, no, you've come here to train, you better carry on. So I just swam off away from them, and they just shook their heads and carried on. Eventually, it took me a hang of a long time. I got into to the beach, and about 20 minutes later, Ian came, and he hadn't believed that I could have made progress, so he went back out to Bellboy and was hunting for me out there. But yeah, we got reunited. And then a couple of days later, I was looking on the website, and I thought, well, where are the great whites, at the moment? Are there any around Catalina? And I looked, and I saw some action in Port Elizabeth. And I thought, wow, let's have a look what was going on there. And then I clicked on the pings and realized that that was exactly when I was swimming, same time to the second. And I looked at it, and I started looking at it on Google Earth, and if you follow the shark's track, Albert, he looks like he was swimming behind the Chinese trawler. So I could only imagine they were washing their decks before they docked, and he was following the smell. But when they met up with me, his track changed, and he swam with me all the way into Hobie Beach. And he stayed in the surf there for quite a long part of the day, and then in the evening he disappeared back out to sea.
So he followed you to see if you come back in.
My little guardian angel. Yeah.
Most people wouldn't see a shark as a guardian angel, but I love it.
Yeah, Albert. Yeah, Thank you, Albert, for not
taking a closer look.
Yeah.
Very briefly, next big swim. What's coming up?
2 weeks today. Leave for Zurich. Swimming the length of Lake Zurich.
Which is? How far?
30 kilometers.
30 Ks.
Yeah. 30 Ks, Rapperswil to Zurich. And from there we fly to New York. And I swim the Edley 2 weeks later out of Lower Manhattan.
To
Sandy Hook out in Connecticut. So it's a 30-kilometer past the Statue of Liberty. I also swim the Statue of Liberty event just before. More of a promotional thing around the photo taking thing around the Statue of Liberty. And then out to the Edley, out to Sandy Hook, which is also 30 kilometers. And you go straight out of New York Harbor, Verrazano Bridge, Governor's Island, and eventually around to Sandy Hook.
Roger, I've got to let you go, but before I do, tell me what swimming has given to you. What's come out of all these long swims, the qualities you think it's brought out in you? If you have to take any lesson from it.
There's one hang of a wonderful ocean out there. But I think it's the people. I swim with some really, really tough, big guys around the world. But my inspiration and the people who are very close to my heart are people like Lydia Goldswain from Cape Town.
She's a paraplegic, and you helped her.
Elizabeth von Welchmer, who has no legs or hands or anything. And she's a Paralympian. And one day I saw her in a wheelchair at Sun City, and she was going to swim the 3-kilometer event. And I asked her how she's getting from the deck into the lake. She said she doesn't know. I said, you haven't got legs? She said, no. I said, wow, okay. Look, I'll help you, So I quickly got my kit on, and we got in together, and those kind of ladies. And then obviously the ladies like Jackie Cobell in the UK, the world's longest English Channel swim, and Capri Chamorro in New York. Those are the real heroes.
You know what, Roger? I've known you for such a short period of time, but I've learned so much about you, and you're the most generous spirit, and you've certainly become a hero of mine. So thank you for that, and thank you very much for coming in and spending the time and being my interview of the week. Thank you for that.
Oh, thanks for having me, ladies. Yeah, it's been great.